Hello and welcome to another episode of Another Look, our news and review podcast here on the Ripper 95.3 and Sports Radio 1450. I'm Dilly, Nicholls, news director here at our station. She is Janet Michael, host of the award-winning Valley Today, which I was lucky enough to be on today.
See, that's a coveted seat.
It's a coveted seat, and we were talking on the Valley Today about episode 27.
Yeah.
This episode.
We had no idea what this episode was going to have in it.
Yeah,
but we did reference it was coming.
We were talking about it. We were hyping it, as we do. But yeah.
It was an episode about podcasts.
Which was cool. It was cool to just talk about, it was cool to kind of let our metaphorical hair down too and talk about our favorite podcasts that don't have anything to do with the Ripper 953. I get to talk about Mark Maron a little bit and some Radio Lab. I am a sucker for Radio Lab. I am a sucker for Radio Lab. Yeah. They are so good there.
You'll notice that we got through that whole show and I only mentioned one of the podcasts that I listened to.
What'd you listen?
The Curiosity Daily was the only one. I didn't go through the 4,000 podcasts and
You've got a lot more on your phone than I have.
I've got a lot.
Yeah. See, I couldn't keep track of that many. I like to keep it simple.
And we talked about this. I need to find a podcast app that isn't the Apple podcast app that lets me sort them based on topic, so that I can go in and look at if I decide, hey, I want to listen to a podcast about podcasts. They're all in a list. And then I can choose from what available episodes I have for them. If I want news or I want politics or I want a story, I need to find an app that lets me sort them by topic.
Well,
is that what
on
yours
my podcast
does?
app, you'll see Discover and then Topics. Look at that,
there
Janet. Look at that.
I may have to swap my app.
Yeah, you might want to try it out. I mean, no knocks on Apple.
No.
But Tim Cook, up your game, man. Because I got topics going on over here. What are you doing? This is only your job.
Right.
And I got them in my pocket. So, Janet, we got a lot to talk about this week. It was an unexpected banner week of news.
I know.
I don't know about you, but I think mentally I'm sort of in wind-down mode because I know Christmas is coming and the Christmas music is playing, and I want to get through the holiday rush and just enjoy the holiday. But the news keeps on newsing. Whether I news it or I don't news it, the news newses.
This was a weird week, though, because we had Camping for Hunger 2 weeks ago. And then we had Thanksgiving week, which was, a shortened week of sorts.
Talk about a weird week.
And then this was the first full week back that it didn't quite feel like the holidays, but it kind of felt like it was still the holidays.
It felt odd. It felt odd. I definitely was not up to working when I first got in. But,
and it's still November, so that's the weird thing. It feels like it should be December already.
Yeah.
And it's not, and
Yeah, it's a very strange week. And kind of a strange news week. You've got right there, well, I mean, you've got a thrilling list of stories there I'm looking at. You've got bears, you've got fires.
Yeah, I've got bears, I've got fires, I've got school bus accidents.
Yes. And that's something right there. So just to give you, I guess, a tease into Janet's thing.
Yes.
School buses.
We're building tension.
School bus accidents, we're building tension. There were 3 very notable fires that happened just this week, which is a big deal. It did not just little utility fires or something like that. 3 really big fires, and then also we love squeezing in a black bear story or two. We got one for you this week on Janet's side of things.
Dumbass.
She's not talking to me.
I've already given it away.
She's not talking to me.
We all know
folks.
now how I'm going to feel about that story.
I cannot wait to hear you elaborate on that. Me on my end, I've got, you know me, I love the bureaucracy.
Yes, you do.
It was in full tilt today, folks. We've got so that controversial sort of development on East Piccadilly and North Kent Streets where they had to get permissions to knock down historic buildings, and everyone was like, is that okay? Is that not okay? They were vacant buildings for the most part, I think. So a lot of debate on that, but now they're working really closely on this development with the Board of Architectural Review to try and get some feedback with them and let them know.
That's smart.
Mm-hmm. And so they've been working with those guys, and as a result, the plans that they've been developing have been in line with the BAR's desires. Yeah. And so the BAR came out during some sort of meeting this week, and their preliminary designs, based upon their feedback, were shown, and they get positive feedback on those designs. Okay. So that was an interesting thing, and we'll get more into that. We also got a California company that may buy Royal Arms Apartments in Front Royal, do some renovations.
Yeah, talk about a building that just needs to be torn down like the North Kent Street thing does.
So obviously
or a building that needs a fire.
Oh, ouch. So we've got some obvious opinions that are going to happen over here on that one. And other than that, the Shentel Tower will not die. And just when you think it's cooling down, it heats up again. I can't believe it. So we got a lot to talk about, man. We got a lot to talk about. This is probably a good space for a break. It's just so we can recover from the whiplash of what we said.
I need to reheat my coffee.
And that too, yeah. So Jenna will have new coffee, and we'll be ready to talk about these stories when we come back with some more Another Look.
It's an award-winning lunch hour every day at noon with the News at Noon and Valley Today. Listen live on air, online, or on demand at theriver953.com. That's theriver953.com.
Hello, it's Janet again. In addition to producing podcasts for the River 953 and our clients, I also host a show every weekday on the air from 12:30 till 1 called The Valley Today. It's a community conversation where I chat with local business owners, nonprofits, government agencies, and residents about what's happening up and down the Shenandoah Valley. You can hear the show live each day on the radio, you can listen live from our website, or you can listen to the podcast of the show each afternoon on our website at theriver953.com from the Valley Today page. You can even subscribe to the podcast in the Apple Podcast app or the Google Play Music Store and have it delivered directly to your phone once it's published. So join me for a conversation this week. And if you're interested in being a guest or advertising in that podcast, send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. And now, back to the podcast.
And we're back with some more Another Look, our news and review podcast here, and we're going to start with
like
my
an hour-long
stories.
break.
It was an hour-long break, so I almost introduced the whole podcast over again because we just sat here talking. But I'm going to do my stories first, I think, because we got some bureaucracy going on here.
Let's have it. I need a little nap.
No, Janet, these stories are red hot. We got to talk about Shentel, first of all. Why are you sighing? This is exciting.
I'm so tired of hearing about this stupid cell tower.
Did you read the story?
I did not.
Okay, all right. Well, here's the story. Okay, so
I knew how excited you were going to be to tell me the story. I didn't want to take any of the wind out of your sails.
I'm like the dog, and you just came on. Yeah, Janet. All right, so get this, dog. Basically what happened was, you know the story about the Shentel Tower. We've been covering it this whole time, but in case you don't know, Shentel is a telecommunications company based in Edinburgh, and they've been trying to put this cell tower in Jim Barnett Park, and they've been facing opposition all the way, but City Council finally approved it, or approved a conditional use permit for them to put it there, but now they're just in franchise and lease agreements. There was some controversy over the franchise and lease agreements because two people in city government tried to run it themselves when they weren't necessarily authorized, or else it wasn't proper for them to do so. The reason it wasn't proper was because it gave Shentel the opportunity to rip the city off in the lease rates. So now, City Attorney Anthony Williams, the guy who should have been involved from the very start, but who was involved a little too late last time around, is in the negotiations. They did an analysis of localities in Virginia, Maryland, all around there to see exactly how Shentel's bids stacked up against everyone else's comparable bids, and they found that comparable bids in, different localities across Virginia and Maryland ranged from $1,000 to $2,437 for a monthly rent rate for basically just the land,
for the property,
the city-owned
for the cell
property
tower to go
for
on.
the cell tower to go on. Exactly. Shentel's proposal was for a lease rate of $583.
Nice.
But Shentel said maybe, though, two other carriers will sign on to lease space on the tower for their own stuff. And if they do that, then their combined add to that is $691. Now, I went ahead and I did the math on that.
Oh, you math whiz, you.
Yeah, and so even if they get two other carriers to contribute to Shentel's lease rates, which isn't guaranteed, and they could drop off, I guess, at any time, who knows, that's still around like $1,250, right, which is on the low range of the $1,000 to $2,400 scale. So guess what Winchester's doing in response? Janet, it's pretty magical. They voted unanimously to have a first reading of a revived franchise solicitation at their January 8th meeting And what that means is that they're going to open the tower site, because now with the conditional use permit, they've opened up this site to be available to put a tower
to put
on.
a cell tower. So now they're going to say, hey, Verizon, hey, AT&T, hey, Sprint.
Now they're opening that tower site up to bids from other telecommunication companies. So, I mean, there's been some suspicions that it was a dirty trick by Shentel. Shentel should have known better.
To negotiate when they shouldn't, when they knew they weren't negotiating with the right person.
Exactly. Some city officials have said Shentel should have known better. They should have gone directly to Anthony Williams, but they had no intention of doing that because they knew they could get a lower rate and a different contract agreement if they negotiate with people that weren't accustomed to this in the city government and didn't know what was going on. So this is City Council punishing Shentel a little bit, and we might not see a Shentel cell tower. We might just see a Dylan Nicholls Incorporated cell tower. I might just start a small business.
Is it going to be one of those shrill dog whistle things that you can only hear it if you're a millennial, because people my age can't hear anything that high pitched?
Exactly, and we'll monetize that somehow. So that's going on in Shentel.
Okay, so I'll give you credit for as much as I thought the story was just the dead horse being beaten over and over and over again. I will give you props. That is kind of a nice little twist.
Janet, I repeat, it's red hot. It's a red hot story. What a lead. So excited about that. Now, another kind of less exciting story, but still really important, and we were talking about this in the headline segment, is this development on North Kent Streets and East Piccadilly Streets that's been going on for a while. Kind of controversial because they are going to have to tear down some historic buildings to make it happen. And they got a little pushback from the Historical Society, the Historic District, and all that. But now they've been working very closely with the Board of Architectural Review to make sure that the design's okay, and now they finally released their preliminary designs at a recent meeting, and the BAR is all over it.
Wow.
They're loving it. They say the designs are more contemporary. They feature elements of precast concrete and middle panels, all the comforts of home. It's supposed to look pretty good. There's also supposed to be, on the eastern wall, room for a banner or mural celebrating Winchester's history. Oh. So they're really trying to appeal to the guy. They're really doing their homework.
Laying it on thick.
The noses are brown on this one. So, but that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
now,
good.
Have you seen the drawings? Did they release those publicly, or do you have to go trucking down to Winchester City Hall and say, "Hey, I want to see them pictures"?
I don't want to speak out of turn. I think I saw them. I don't think we had the rights to them, so I didn't publish them. But I think I saw them. I've covered so many stories at this point. I don't remember exactly. And I've seen also so many different mock-ups of, because they were talking about what this development might look like.
Oh yeah, because they had
really
that
want
on
this
Facebook
on your block
and
that kind of stuff. So it's buzzing around my brain right now. I gotta look that up and get back to you guys.
Yeah, because you could probably call them and say, "Hey, we've been covering this in our podcast, and we're a pretty big deal."
Hey, fellas, we're a big deal.
Give us your drawings.
We're friends of you Piccadilly folks.
We want to use the crayons and color it in for how we think it should look.
Hey, that's an idea. We could, as amateur sketch artists, estimate what this might look like for people.
See, that could work.
We might get our asses sued, but it'd be fun in the meantime, right? I'm very good at shading with crayon. I don't know if you know that about me.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of my rare hidden talents.
Now I know what to get you for Secret Santa. Except I didn't get your name.
Did you get me?
I did not get your name.
Because you spoiled it if you got my name. Yeah.
I did not.
I won't tell you who I got.
I don't remember who I got.
You don't remember?
Yeah, now I remember. I had to think for a second.
Oh, all right.
It wasn't you. Or anybody in this room.
We'll have to aka me. We'll have to talk about this in the break, because I might be able to help you out with get 10 deals if it's someone I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Anyways, my last story I got here.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a California company, because you know those guys.
I do. I know them all personally.
You know those guys. Silicon Valley, solar panels all over the place. These are the exact kind of dogs that want to get their hands in on Front Royal real estate. And so sure enough, a California company may buy Royal Arms Apartments and fix it up.
I hope they realize that doesn't mean royalty lives there. That just because it's called Royal Arms, that does not mean the prince or the queen or the king have visited at any point.
I'm sorry, Janet. When's the last time you went to Royal Arms Apartments?
Okay, let me tell you. I haven't been there ever inside.
Yeah, really?
My husband is on a regular basis for his job.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what my husband does for a living. So just let that sink in.
Well, let's not, before we get into libelous territory here. So this California company is called CPP Housing. And they've told the Front Rural Economic Development Authority's board in October that, we invest in and preserve developments like Royal Arms. We do it by raising tax equity, and we basically what we want to do is renovate and improve the apartment complex. It's 144 units. They want to improve apartment interiors. They want to improve the pool, the playground. They want to get wireless internet for the entire property. I don't know if some lucky ducks have it and some guys don't. I don't know
scamming it
what's
from
going
somebody,
on.
Probably.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, McDonald's Wi-Fi is being used by like 1,000 people, and they're going to give it a new HVAC system, a lot of different stuff. And they're also saying that when these renovations go on, as they're going on, they won't displace current residents.
Oh, no, they'll wait till the renovations are done and
so
then displace those residents.
So that's what you were talking about before, because you seem to think that this is this a fixed income?
It is a fixed income, yeah.
And you seem to think
and
that'll
not in a
change
good way.
once they get yeah.
Well, it even if it remains a fixed income, the income levels are probably going to go up.
The bar will be raised.
Yeah,
I don't know how
so.
that works.
And I didn't realize. I mean, I wasn't very familiar with any of those types of developments either. And then my son, Josh, when he was looking for an apartment in Frederick, apparently that's pretty much all that the apartment complexes in Frederick are all based on your income, except he made not enough.
To get
in some cases to get into the decent ones. Now he's living in a really nice place, but it's a studio.
Yeah, exactly. It's a limited size.
Yeah, and he makes $37,000 a year.
Well, and now the world knows.
But I mean, so think about that for a minute. That's what they call fixed income.
Yeah.
And so he's a single guy living in a studio apartment and almost made too much money to qualify for something like this.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's going to impact what those minimums are, because if it's tax equity, they were going to have to get their money back somehow or another.
I'm going to have to marry rich, man.
And
I'm going to have to marry very, very rich. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
You need a sugar mama.
Yes, correct.
Let me all go through my list of Facebook friends and see if I got anybody that I can,
sugar mamas in there, Janet?
I can hook you up with. But I'm kind of curious to see how this shakes out, because if nothing else, just the renovation of that building, I don't know, maybe put a coat of paint on it. It would look phenomenally better.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of curious.
Positive thing for the community maybe overall, but hopefully the rates aren't raised. Or at least too high if they are raised at all. Yeah. Well, great. So that's probably a good time for a break right there. But when we come back, now it's time for the really sexy portion of another look.
Fires and school bus accidents and black bears. Oh
my. Yes. Lots of stuff going on in Janet's end of another look, and all that when we come back.
Hello, it's Janet again. In addition to producing podcasts for the River 953 and our clients, I also host a show every weekday on the air from 12:30 to 1 called The Valley Today. It's a community conversation where I chat with local business owners, nonprofits, government agencies, and residents about what's happening up and down the Shenandoah Valley. You can hear the show live each day on the radio, you can listen live from our website, or you can listen to the podcast of the show each afternoon on our website at theriver953.com from the Valley Today page. You can even subscribe to the podcast in the Apple Podcast app or the Google Play Music Store and have it delivered directly to your phone once it's published. So join me for a conversation this week. And if you're interested in being a guest or advertising in that podcast, send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. And now, back to the podcast.
It's an award-winning lunch hour every day at noon with the News at Noon and Valley Today. Listen live on air, online, or on demand at theriver953.com. That's theriver953.com.
And we're back with some more. Another look. It's the Janet portion of our local news and review. And she's got
We're going to start
big
off
lineup.
with
What do you got?
school bus non-safety.
Yeah. Which one? You got two school
Well,
bus
let's start
stories
with
there.
the Shenandoah County school bus is rear-ended on Route 55.
Yeah.
What? I mean, how do you not see a school bus? Let's start with that. It's like these people that get hit by a train. How do you not hear the train coming?
Yeah, I don't know. The guy, as far as I know, the guy's still in Winchester Medical. I don't know what exactly happened to him. The wreck looks really bad. He had to be extricated from it. He went underneath that school bus.
So he clearly was not paying, you would assume. Now, he could have, you don't know, he could have had a heart attack. There could have been any other things going on.
Yeah. No, but he, I mean, who knows? I think it's under investigation. I don't know if that's concluded yet or not. But, yeah, I mean, it blocked up all of 55 for like 2 hours during morning commute time.
And she had kids on that bus, the school bus driver.
Well, and she had just started picking them up.
Yeah.
Which is the good news. So, and none of the kids were injured as far as the reports told us. So, we can be thankful for that at least. Hopefully this guy's okay, but it might be a texting while driving thing. It might be a sleep at the wheel thing, depending upon when his shift started or when it ended, if he was coming home from something.
Because it's daylight at 7:30, so it's not even like it's still in that early morning hours where it's kind of dark and kind of not. But even still, if it's dark, those buses are like, floating Christmas trees. They got lights all over them flashing and carrying on.
It's true. I mean, it's hard to believe anyone could miss that. But that ties in perfectly to your next school bus story, too, which is...
Yes, and it features my old friend, Lieutenant Gosnell.
Lieutenant Warren Gosnell.
Doesn't really feature him. But he has been on the Valley Today, and a lot of times once school starts, he comes every other month. In 2019, he's going to start coming every month. He doesn't know that yet, but he's going to come every month. And we do a traffic safety segment.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we talk about different things, like if you are getting pulled over, where do you pull over? Do you, like, don't pull into the median.
Yeah.
Pull off the side of the road, those things. So we talk about that kind of stuff, but we talk a lot about school buses and school bus safety, and when you do and don't have to stop when the the stop sign is out and kids are coming, because it depends on whether there's a median in the road and if it's a clear barrier, any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I know that he has talked about cameras going on the school buses, but apparently now there's an issue with that.
Yeah, there's a few issues that he was pointing out. And if I remember correctly, one of the I don't have the story in front of me. You've got the story right now. But if I remember the issues correctly, I'm looking at it.
They're going to install. Okay. Yeah.
Now it's coming back to me. So basically, the cameras themselves, the upfront cost of the cameras will be covered by the vendor who's providing them. But in exchange for that, the vendor would want to collect the fines themselves, and the fines are $250 a piece. Now, that's something that is in violation of the ordinance, an existing ordinance, which is not good. But the other thing is that state code dictates that the vendor has 10 days, or anyone has 10 days after each incident to issue a fine. And the fines can only be issued if the crime is determined, and the crime can only be determined
if the
by the sheriff's
footage
office, by law enforcement personnel. And so what that would mean is that law enforcement personnel somebody would have to be dedicated to watching this footage within that time frame as it came in, which is just not physically possible based on their staffing. So a couple issues.
And for free, because if the fines aren't going to get collected and go back into the coffers of the sheriff's department, they're basically just taking somebody's salary and saying, hey, now add this more work to it, because when we collect the fine, it's got to go to this company.
They did get the cameras, though. And who knows how much the cameras cost. And once again, it's like all the cost up front, and their school buses are equipped. And not only that, I mean, it's the sheriff's office, it's government. So it's always coming out of the taxpayers.
You should call your old buddy Tim Cook and see if he'll come off with some Apple iPhones for and then just put those up as cameras. And
that sounds like a charitable thing he'd be into.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get him those Facebook portals we were talking about earlier. Because then you can get the whole view. It moves with you.
That thing would be shaking so bad. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercials of the Facebook portal, but one came out and Janet's been nuts.
Yes.
For the Facebook
and then
portal
they talked
ever
about it on
since.
Thursday Night Football last night, and it was like, oh my gosh, I got to have one of those.
Because the camera, you set it up and you video chat like you do with any other camera, except it follows you around the room. If you move around, it identifies your body. It follows that body.
No, but see, I just don't like anybody else well enough to spend another $200 to buy them their own camera so I can talk to them.
Which is fair enough. I can think of a few people I would do that for. Yeah. Probably the only person I would do that for is my dog.
You can call Fudge when you're here.
Yeah, exactly. But she wouldn't know how to use it. She's not good with tech.
You'd have to set it up so that she would just have to bark 3 times. It would have a certain ringtone that when she heard it, she had to bark 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Alexa, arf, arf, arf. And it turns on the... Yeah.
All right. I'm not sure how we got from school bus crashes to having your dog talk on a video phone.
Well, let's talk fire. Lots of fires breaking out across the north and
these are all completely and totally random. They're not. I mean, usually what you see when the weather changes is you see a lot of somebody put their wood stove ashes outside and left them too close to their house or things like that. These all have. I mean, one of them is shaky, but I mean, they're all different.
Well, I will say that with the Warren County fire that displaced a family, and with the fire that burned down that Clark County barn, which is a 101-year-old barn. Yeah. Incredible.
I know. I'm going to have Nathan on next week to tell me about it.
I know in at least one of those, in the releases and the reports, they said wind was a factor, because you remember these high winds we've had this week.
Yeah.
Wind was a factor, and the wind advisory really kicked everything up, and it made it very hard, it hindered progress in the fire, made it very hard to put it out. I don't remember if they were citing that for the Warren County or the Clark County incident, but I'm sure it factored into both of them when it came down to it. Because it's been a windy week overall, even on days without the advisory. And
the Clark County barn was surveyed. So it was 101 years old, and it was surveyed in 1750 by an 18-year-old George Washington.
Yeah, the property that it's on,
Yeah.
I believe it's Clermont is the name
Yep.
of it. Yeah, and so kind of amazing. He was funny. Randy was telling me, like, what does an 18-year-old George Washington look like? Like, George, stay in your room. Or no, he said, George, what are you doing in your room for so long?
I'm drawing pictures, Mom.
I'm looking at a farm.
Oh, yeah. And they say that it was accidental, but of course they'll still have to investigate it. But it's so crazy. And we've had conversations on this podcast before that a fire is like one of my triggers. It's one of my fears that's...
I don't know if I mentioned this last podcast, 3 fire extinguishers for the house.
Huh?
3. One in the old. Actually, I didn't even put one in the basement. It was just one in our grandmother's mother-in-law apartment that's attached.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, she tried to boil water the other day in a pot that had no water in it. So that's what spurred
Grandmama.
us to buy them. Another one upstairs in case you get trapped upstairs and the fire's like at the stairs. So, and then another one just in the kitchen. So it's but it fire's kind of one of those like really frightening ones.
Yeah, it is.
You can't even picture what that end of days would look like.
Well, and the one for Warren County was one of those things where it was a 13-year-old boy who was alone in the house when the fire broke out, called 911, saved the family's pets, but it was the cause of that was believed to be a malfunctioning propane-fueled water heater. So that's the other thing. You can do everything right and take your safety precautions and do everything else, and then you have one piece of equipment in your house that malfunctions,
and that's it.
And poof.
And water heaters, man. I mean, you gotta be so careful. But I mean, that kid, by the way, that was a cool story to me because those pets involved multiple cats, multiple dogs, and a potbelly pig, and he got them like Noah to the Ark out of that damn house. Aunt called 911. So, I mean, that kid's got sense. That was cool to see.
Okay, well, I get that, and we've talked about this a lot in the last couple of days. I get that in your role as the news director, you've got to boil these stories down to the basic facts.
I couldn't fit Potbelly Pig in.
I think you should have. I think you should have figured out a way.
And I couldn't fit it into
I don't care how long it took him to put the fire out. I want to know that there was a Potbelly Pig that was...
I see. I couldn't fit it into the news on air, and then when I post the story, it's such a mad rush in the story. I can't go back to the articles and say what cool details should I put up.
I see how you are. So when it comes to the website, which is my baby, you can half-ass everything.
Forget it. I say forget it. I don't need that jazz. I don't need that worry.
Oh wait, I didn't realize that this dryer that burned. Oh,
are you familiar with Shamrock Laundry?
I am.
Really?
I am.
Are you a Shamrock gal?
I am not. But I didn't realize that was the laundromat that it was. So where it sits on the corner. And it sits on the corner of Germain Street and Braddock Street.
This is the other fire, by the way, the dryer fire.
Yes.
Dryer fire.
So that's where the laundromat sits is on this corner. Braddock Street runs, and then you've got the laundromat here. Germain Street runs along parallel. I lived in the house right across the parking lot from the laundromat. It's where Josh was born. Well, not in the house, but that's where we live. Oh my God, it's so late
Poor
on a Friday.
Poor guy was born in a shopping cart.
So late on a Friday. But yeah, I didn't. I just saw, broken dryer sets Winchester Laundromat on fire. I'm like, oh my gosh, another fire.
Not just any laundromat.
And again, another piece of equipment.
It was the
malfunctioned.
Yeah. That's probably the dryer Josh was born in.
Well, that would explain a lot. That would explain so much.
Yeah. Hit his head on the tumble, maybe.
But I mean, I guess they have. Do they have like sprinklers and stuff? Because I'm looking at this saying, okay, well, this was.
What are you asking me about the schematics?
Yeah,
of
but I mean, this was a laundromat, and the fire was caused, they think, by a broken drum belt. total damages were estimated at $10,000, and yet this was a propane-fueled water heater in this house in Warren County, and $45,000 in damages. You would think that dryers and washers would have a higher value than a regular person's house contents.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they probably
putting way too much thought into this.
Yeah, you probably are. But I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm sure businesses have different regulations for fire safety as well. I mean, the homes don't have any really. So, I
didn't think about it too. Yeah, there are apartments upstairs. That's a problem.
Yeah, they had to evacuate those guys.
Wow.
Which, I mean, if you're living above a laundromat, you might be knocking on death's door already. There, you're really gambling, you're rolling dice.
Not because of the fire.
Why?
But I mean, think about it.
On the dryer.
Yes, but it makes it, have you ever driven by a laundromat when it's cold outside and the windows are all fogged up? It's because the heat is inside that room and heat rises.
I don't know if you're right about that.
I bet living upstairs over a laundromat is warm.
Isn't the heat contained inside the dryer? Isn't that the whole point?
No, but they have the vents and everything else, and you open the door when the dryer's done, and the heat comes out like when you open the oven door.
You make it sound like a damn bakery in like some Norwegian village. It's Shamrock Laundry. It's not the coziest spot in Winchester, Janet.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to. Well, you know what? Now that I say that, it's not worth the research to go sit in laundromats to find out if that's really the case.
On a case-by-case basis.
No. I think I've only ever used a laundromat twice where I had to go and sit and do my laundry. Yeah. Then I learned that the laundromat that I did that in had this really cool service where I could just bring my laundry in and leave it with the nice lady at the counter.
Oh, I don't trust
that. And say,
I'll
be back on Thursday.
Oh.
And I come back on Thursday and all of my laundry is done. Everything is folded. Everything is put into clean little bags. And away I go.
Janet, it's not new. That's called a dry cleaner.
No, it was a third of the cost of dry clean.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because they charge you by the pound. Okay, I didn't realize that was going to be so chuckly. But yeah. They do.
Like a damn... Oh, my God. I worked at a farm where we sold produce by the pound. Same basic concept, I guess.
Yeah, you just take your clothes in, they put them on a scale, and they say this is 14 pounds. And it's,
What are there something in the pockets?
Well, yeah, that's why you got to clean your pockets out.
Yeah. Well, what if they waited it was something in your pockets?
Yeah. I hope they weren't putting their foot on the scale so they could put a little extra something in their pockets.
Well, I'm picturing like a Roman market where they put like artificial weights in your sweatpants to try and upsell you.
I'll have you know that they didn't get the better of me because I would stand on the scales at home.
Oh,
and then I would stand on the scales holding all of my dirty clothes, and I would do the math so I would know.
That is so crazy. This whole thing.
That is really how it works. I'm telling you, that is really what they do.
Nuts.
Yeah. I mean, now I wish I had gotten you for Secret Santa because I totally would get you a gift certificate to a laundromat.
I like you're like, they didn't get the better of me because they convinced me to stand on a scale holding all my dirty clothes. So I showed them.
Yes.
Oh, all right, you better read about black bears before I lose my damn mind.
This guy is an idiot. So let's just, So Warren County man convicted for feeding black bears.
Yep.
Dumbass.
How do we reach these kids?
Well, and it's not even, okay, I get that there are people that love the wildlife.
And it says,
I love the wildlife.
It says sickened, injured bears he was trying to take care of with his food.
Yes. And, okay. But he spent over $10,000 a year on food for these bears.
It's a poor investment.
We just collected 45,000 pounds of food for families and children in Warren County who would not otherwise have gotten a decent meal. Larry says that the $8,000 cash that we collected will probably buy them another 20 to 25,000 pounds of food.
That's I didn't realize it was.
And this dude is spending $10,000 to feed the sickly bears that clearly are eating in everybody else's trash can. Because how many times do we got to clean up the trash here at the station?
That happened to me for a while until we set up that radio outside.
Yeah,
that was nice. The voices scare away the bear.
Yeah.
If you set a radio outside near the trash can, do that, guys. But,
and I get, a lot of people, not everybody is privy to a certain level of education and intelligence when it comes to wildlife. I am lucky because my father was a hunter. My husband is a hunter. And because of that, he has learned things over the years that he has then passed down. So we have learned, and we watch a lot of the hunting shows and the wildlife things.
Right.
So we know that the one thing about bears, black bears, grizzly bears, brown bears, whatever, is they remember where they found food.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of Bears 101. And I guess that's kind of his intention, too, is to help the bears. But the other thing is, and this is the other part, is whether that money could have been better spent, you can argue that. But it did cost thousands of dollars worth of damages when the bears are going through the neighborhood thinking this is a food source. This entire neighborhood might be a food source. They're
Not to mention what happens if one of your kids is playing outside or any number of things. You do not get in the path of a hungry bear.
Yeah, it's extremely dangerous. And you just, a good rule of thumb is you don't interfere with nature.
No.
If you see like a sick or dying animal that's part of like the natural course of things, and you just have to like let the ecosystem do its course, go through its thing. Now, I mean, there are certain exceptions to that rule when man is encroaching on wildlife's habitat. But, I mean, in this scenario where you're just basically setting up a pantry and then these bears can raid everyone. But the thing that really got me is that because it's a Class 3 misdemeanor, which gives the highest possible fines for a misdemeanor, and this guy still only was charged $500 for this whole thing.
No jail time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably going to go back and do it. If he can afford to spend $10,000 in a year to feed these bears, I'm sure $500 did not put a dent in his wallet.
I mean, I don't think it's a jailing offense necessarily, and a misdemeanor on his record is not a great thing for this guy.
I think they ought to strap him to one of these trash cans.
Wow.
And then throw some corn in front of it. See how that feels.
You realize how far beyond Hammurabi's code that is? I mean, you went from like an eye for an eye to an eye for...
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would be different, and I say it would be different. To a certain degree, it would be different if this guy lived in Warren County on 45 acres in the middle of nowhere. Then you do what you need to do, and you set up some little places away. But he's living in a neighborhood.
Still not great. You don't want to feed bears. You don't want to encourage that. But this is a whole different ball game. Yeah, when you're living in a neighborhood. He apparently even, and I was not able to fit this into. Well, I have got 30 seconds, but I was not able to fit in the story. But he apparently even had a fence set up so that from the street you could not see his bear feeding setup. And authorities had trouble like getting this arrest. That's why a press release was taken out, and the DJIF made a big deal about this, was because he'd kind of set it up. He had made it very difficult to prove he was culpable. So it's a big day for bears. It's a big day for men.
Yeah, and I just want to know where you found the picture of this bear, because he looks like he is a sick and injured bear, because his tongue is hanging half out of his mouth, and he looks like he needs like something.
That's my sister. I don't have a sister. All right.
Thank you for clarifying that.
This is probably a good time for a break because we're now on minute 19 of this.
I know. Stupid people. And let's go to dumb news.
When we come back, we're going to go back
to... that wasn't.
That was definitely qualified as dumb news. But when we come back, we're going to have even more dumb news. And this time, we're not limited to the Shenandoah Valley. No. We're going all over the place this time. So stick around.
It's an award-winning lunch hour every day at noon with the News at Noon and Valley Today. Listen live on air, online, or on demand at theriver953.com. That's theriver953.com.
Hello, it's Janet again. In addition to producing podcasts for the River 953 and our clients, I also host a show every weekday on the air from 12:30 till 1 called The Valley Today. It's a community conversation where I chat with local business owners, nonprofits, government agencies, and residents about what's happening up and down the Shenandoah Valley. You can hear the show live each day on the radio, you can listen live from our website, or you can listen to the podcast of the show each afternoon on our website at theriver953.com from the Valley Today page. You can even subscribe to the podcast in the Apple Podcast app or the Google Play Music Store and have it delivered directly to your phone once it's published. So join me for a conversation this week. And if you're interested in being a guest or advertising in that podcast, send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. And now, back to the podcast.
And we're back with another look. It's dumb news time here on Another Look, or as we like to call it...
Not to be confused with the last 45 minutes.
Seriously. But as we like to call it... Janet, what do we like to call dumb news?
I don't know.
What was it?
Dumb.
The Big Dumb. That's right.
Such a dork.
That's right, Janet. That was Janet's voice, by the way.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You could tell, right? Yeah. Janet, do you want to go first or you want me to go
No,
first?
you go first. Go ahead, because you're not going to appreciate my story. It just suddenly occurred to me that you are not going to appreciate my story. But go ahead.
Yeah, words of a coward. Look at this. This is actually a really cool story. I'm about to tell you a story of not just a man, but a legend.
Ooh.
This guy, they say, is just like 007.
Really?
They're calling him they're basically calling him the spy of the Easy Pass system. Or in Florida, I don't even know what they call it, but basically the toll booth spy. Because here's what he does. All right. So this guy, 70 years old. Old bastard. He's from Detroit. He moves all the way down to Miami. And when he gets down to Miami, he brings with him his minivan. And on this minivan, with his new little Florida plates and everything like that, he has a contraption set up. And this contraption, we can swear on this, right?
Well, we've been doing it for the last hour. So
I shit you not. It's being called a cloaking device. And basically what it is it's a mechanism on top of the front and rear plates of the minivan that has a black curtain attached to it. And when he is approaching one of those like Easy Pass detector things on the highway that like if you go
they can zap you,
they can zap you, get your information, and bill you if you go through there without the Easy Pass thing.
Right.
And it's whatever Florida's equivalent is of that. He presses a button and it lowers the black curtain over his license plates so they can't get his plate number and they can't bill him. So this guy's been getting away free. What do you mean?
Don't they have like the little thingies that are down?
No, well, that's like a toll booth, right? But this isn't exactly the toll booth. It's like the Easy Pass where you're on, like, so say you're on the Beltway and everything and you go through the wrong, like, lane or something, use the Easy Pass lane on accident. And so normally you have, like, a little detector on your dashboard that zaps it. But he doesn't. So when you don't have that little detector, it just takes a picture of your license plate and then bills you.
I didn't know that.
But this guy had the curtain. So this guy, this brilliant man, Robert Craig, has been getting away.
Wasn't one of the James Bond people's
name
Craig?
Remember. Yeah, it was like
Roger Craig. Roger.
No, it was Roger. Was it Craig?
Roger Moore and
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig.
Oh!
There you go.
So can we just call him Daniel Craig? All right, so Daniel Craig. So this guy's been getting away for this for a while. And so finally, some commuter saw it, thought it was the funniest thing, took a picture of it. And then they ended up sending that picture in to CBS 4. But the picture was after the fact, so it was cloaked. So they still couldn't tell whose car it was, even when CBS 4 was flashing the picture all over the place. But the police took an interest.
No bumper stickers or anything like that, identifying marks
so.
Like tattoos.
Well, when you're a spy, Janet, you tend not to use that stuff.
Well, that's true. You blend in.
Yeah, and then when you're a spy like Daniel Craig, that's just not your style. So what he ends up... So finally, one guy is off duty of all things. One Miami-Dade policeman is off duty. He's driving on the highway, and what does he see? He sees the cloaking device car. And so he's so excited that even though he's off duty, he calls the guys, lets them know its position, and then starts following the guy. And sure enough, they track him down. And I think they were just so psyched about the whole thing, they threw him in jail, but they released him like the next day. Like it was like nothing. Because it really isn't a huge offense. But he was a crook. He was a culprit. He was on the run. He was a spy.
We're totally going to get you one of them little curtain thingies for you.
I want it so bad now. I want it so bad. I don't even intend on skipping lights on it. You know what I want to do? I want to pull in front of Gosnell. Then I want to lower the curtains, and then I want to do 70 out of the 35.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to watch what happens.
Yeah. The second he pulled me over, you'd rip me out of that car.
All right, and you know he's coming in December for the alcohol lab, and you were going to have, a few drinks on the air.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you about that. So Dylan, why don't you tell guys here about your plan to outsmart him?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Gosnell.
Yeah, and I'll say,
hiccuping.
Gauzy wasn't even drinking when he came up with this idea.
No, I was just reading great literature. AKA the Miami-Dade Herald. All right, what do you got, Jen? What do you got that I want to appreciate?
All right, so first, let me take you on a quick little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, I love that memory.
Do you remember earlier this afternoon when I screamed at you and said, "Hey, Dilly, we had a vegan dinner at the Michael household last night. We had a vegan dinner last night." And you come rolling out of the newsroom and said, what does a vegan dinner look like in the Michael household?
Yeah, and what did I say? I think I guessed... I must have guessed like crackers or something, or potato chips or something like that.
I forget what you did guess. Now
I don't remember what I guessed, but and then you revealed
it was popcorn.
Yeah, so I was pretty much right on my guess.
So popcorn is one of my favorite meals. By the way,
what's a fine meal?
One of my other favorite meals for dinner, and you may remember vaguely in the back of your mind the beauty of breakfast for dinner.
I actually like breakfast for dinner. Yeah.
When it includes sausage.
You know what I have now? Well, you're going to hate me for this. I have vegan sausage patty.
It's okay. You can't even use the word sausage if it's right after the word vegan.
No, but they taste just like the real thing.
No.
Jen, I swear to God.
And no.
You can't even taste the black
But
beans.
I have something for you.
I
have what may be a good compromise.
Okay. I'm all ears.
So, Jimmy Dean sausage now has a scented gift wrap.
They're public enemy number one. You know
can
that, right?
wrap your presents
What?
with gift wrap that smells like sausage.
You got prices? You got estimates? You got quotes?
So here's the thing.
What's the invoice?
The wrapping paper itself is sold out.
Of course it is. Welcome to America.
Yes, it is.
Welcome to freaking America.
But apparently Jimmy Dean was having itself a little contest.
Really?
So are you in need of some extra special wrapping paper for that one weird gift or even weirder recipient? Yeah, that would be you.
Oh, that's me?
Well, sorry. We've all missed out. But truly, you never sausage a thing. Saw such a thing. Get it?
Oh!
Jimmy Dean Sausage was briefly offering sausage-scented gift wrap and hot dog-scented gift wrap.
These guys are
Although
monsters.
hot dogs don't have a smell. I'm sorry. I don't care what you say. Hot dogs don't have a smell.
They have a very distinct
So
smell.
Jimmy Dean asked customers to submit a photograph of a Jimmy Dean meal that they'd made using the company's sausage and then select a free gift. The scented gift wrap was apparently the most popular choice, as the Jimmy Dean Gift Exchange website now lists it as out of stock. Representatives for Jimmy Dean didn't immediately respond to a request for information whether the gift wrap could ever be made available again. Unfortunately, the wrap only featured the smell of its inspirational product and not the taste. Smells like sausage, tastes like paper, cracked the narrator in a Jimmy Dean promotional video. So I'm just thinking,
trying to eat the paper?
What kind of people?
Were people trying to eat it?
It's like on my mocha, my McDonald's mocha here that says, "Caution, I'm hot." Really? Do you really think that wrapping paper that smells like sausage is going to taste like sausage?
At this level, it's like you smell the coffee in your cup and you try to eat the cup. That's the level that we're at right now.
I just it makes no sense. But that just cracked me up.
I want to know I want to know the reporter that's in the. I imagine this is like the New York.
And is it scratch and sniff? I mean, does it smell until you do something to it, or does it just always smell? Because sausage is going to start to not smell good after a while. So does this have an expiration date?
Well, imagine if they have a dog.
Yeah.
The dog's going to tear that present apart.
Yeah.
They're going to get into it.
Yeah.
What I really want to know is I want to know the reporter that's on this beat. I want to know the guy.
Well, the website that I found this, and I to my credit, I did not find it. Sally Michaels sent it to me.
Yeah, good old Sally.
Is thedailymeal.com.
Thedailymeal.com.
That sounds like a website you should like. They might even have a podcast that you could go listen to.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, I'm not a fan of Jimmy Dean sausage. I'm a Gore's sausage girl. She was on my show earlier this week. Phenomenal sausage.
They do good work.
The one thing that I will give Jimmy Dean solid props for, that I wish to God Kentucky Fried Chicken had taken a page out of the Jimmy Dean book. Because I'm fairly certain Jimmy Dean is...
That was such a disgusting sentence to me.
I am fairly certain Jimmy Dean is dead. I think he's been dead for some time.
Yeah, he and the Colonel are rolling around.
Exactly. However, Jimmy Dean commercials still feature Jimmy Dean's voice. And I remember them from growing up, and it's him saying, hey, the best thing about breakfast, the sun rises in the morning, and it's got his accent, and it's Jimmy Dean's voice.
Spooky.
That's a voiceover for his products. I would much prefer that than these ridiculous kernels that they keep trucking out over and over and over again. So ridiculous.
You've got a point.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to be the Geico of fast food, and they're just sort of becoming like the Roseanne
and they're
of
missing
commercials.
the mark yes. Yes. It's awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should maybe give them. Let's give KFC an award, and we'll wrap it in Jimmy Dean's sausage scented gift wrap if it ever becomes available.
I screw you if I've ever heard of one. Right.
I'm gonna see if I can find somebody that has that because I'm totally wrapping your present in it for Christmas.
You said I didn't get it.
I'm going to have to buy you something now just so I can wrap it in this
So you
paper.
can wrap it in the paper. You know what you should do? You should buy me Jimmy Dean wrapping paper and wrap it in Jimmy Dean wrapping paper. That would be the ultimate middle finger to everything I stand for right there. That would be it. That or turkey leg.
That, and after you open it, it's got a vegan sausage in the middle of it. Because that's the most ridiculous thing ever.
But then I have to constantly ask myself, is it really vegan? Is she playing a real sausage and she's telling me it's vegan?
I would never do that.
It's a guessing game. But no matter what, it's...
I would never do that. I almost did that by accident once with my mother-in-law. She's Mormon.
Oh,
and
really?
so she doesn't drink coffee. She doesn't drink alcohol. And she did not realize at one of our summer barbecues that the lemonade.
Oh, was it Mike's Hard?
It was a punch that I make, and it has flavored vodka and lemonade and raspberries and blackberries, and it's like a punch.
Yeah.
And she did not realize that the reason it said adults only was because it had booze in it.
Oh, she thought
she just thought I didn't want the kids to drink it because I didn't want the kids to drink it. Yeah. And she had a cup of it and overheard me say something to somebody about don't let the kids drink that. It has alcohol in it. And right before she took a drink, I would have been mortified.
She would have just gotten you.
Mortified. So now I always keep bottled water in the fridge for when my mother-in-law comes because that's the safest thing.
Yeah. And then Tim probably goes in and fills them with vodka. Oh, well, that's a good stopping point.
Yes.
As good a stopping point as any for this episode of Another Look. When we come back next week, I don't know. I mean, the news changes.
Yeah.
But come back. We like your company. And we have fun.
I'm gonna have Dylan weigh his dirty laundry this week, and we'll let you know next week how many pounds his dirty laundry weighs.
How many pounds a dirty dilly weighs? When we come back next week with some more Another Look.